Let's dive into the story of Mr. Thompson. He wasn't just any CEO, he was a force to be reckoned with. His name was known in every boardroom, whispered with a mix of respect and a little bit of fear. He had built his empire from the ground up, brick by painstaking brick. He expected excellence, not because he was mean, but because he knew what people were capable of. He believed everyone should strive to be their best. Mr. Thompson was a black CEO in a world that wasn't always ready for him. He had faced prejudice and doubt, but he had always risen above it. This made him even more determined to succeed and to make sure that his companies represented the very best in quality and service. He understood that every detail mattered, from the way the phones were answered to the freshness of the ingredients in the company restaurant. He demanded perfection because he understood that even small things could reflect the bigger picture. If the bread was moldy, what else was being overlooked? What other corners were being cut? Mr. Thompson's high standards weren't just about business, they were about integrity. He felt a deep responsibility to his employees, his customers, and his community. He wanted his companies to be a source of pride, a beacon of excellence. He wanted to show the world what hard work and dedication could achieve, regardless of background or circumstance. That is why moldy bread was more than just an oversight, it was a symbol of something far more serious. Now, let's picture Mr. Thompson on his way to the company restaurant. It wasn't just any restaurant, it was a place designed to impress clients and provide a comfortable space for employees to have lunch. Mr. Thompson believed in investing in his people, and that included providing a high-quality dining experience. Today, however, the lunch was more than just a perk, it was a strategic meeting. He was meeting with potential investors, people who could help take his company to the next level. Everything had to be perfect. He had personally reviewed the menu, ensuring that it reflected the company's commitment to quality. As his sleek black car pulled up to the restaurant, he took a deep breath. He wasn't nervous, he was prepared. He had a clear vision for the future, and he was confident in his ability to articulate it. But he also knew that first impressions mattered. The restaurant, the food, the service, it all had to be flawless. He stepped out of the car, his presence commanding attention. He adjusted his tie, a small gesture of self-assurance. He walked towards the entrance, his steps measured and deliberate. He was ready to make a deal, to secure the future of his company. Little did he know that a tiny speck of mold was about to throw everything into chaos. The restaurant doors opened, and he entered, unaware of the culinary disaster that awaited him. Inside the restaurant, a flurry of activity preceded Mr. Thompson's entrance. The staff, usually relaxed and jovial, were now a picture of nervous anticipation. Whispers filled the air, "He's here. He's here." The head chef, normally a confident and boisterous character, wiped his brow with a trembling hand. He double-checked the presentation of every dish, adjusting a sprig of parsley here, smoothing a tablecloth there. The waitstaff, usually graceful and efficient, stumbled over their feet, bumping into each other in their haste. They straightened their uniforms, smoothed their hair, and practiced their smiles in the reflection of the silverware. They knew Mr. Thompson valued professionalism, and they were determined to make a good impression. Even the busboys, usually relegated to the background, felt the weight of the moment. They cleared tables with extra care, making sure every surface gleamed. They knew that Mr. Thompson noticed everything, and they didn't want to be the reason for any displeasure. The manager, a seasoned veteran of the restaurant industry, paced nervously, his eyes darting around the room. He had received countless memos and emails about Mr. Thompson's visit, each one emphasizing the importance of perfection. He had drilled the staff on every detail, from the proper way to greet the CEO to the precise angle at which the wine glasses should be placed. He just hoped that all their preparation would be enough. He prayed that nothing would go wrong. The atmosphere was thick with tension, a silent plea for everything to go smoothly. When Mr. Thompson and his potential investors were seated, everything appeared perfect. The table was set with crisp white linens, gleaming silverware, and sparkling glasses. The waiter, after a moment of almost paralyzing anxiety, managed a smooth and practiced greeting, offering menus with a polite bow. The appetizers arrived, beautifully arranged on elegant plates. The aroma of freshly baked bread filled the air, a comforting and inviting scent. The investors seemed impressed, commenting on the restaurant's ambience and the quality of the food. Mr. Thompson, too, was initially pleased. He exchanged pleasantries with his guests, discussing the menu and making small talk. The main courses followed, each dish a masterpiece of culinary artistry. The presentation was flawless, the colors vibrant, and the portions generous. The investors raved about the flavors, complimenting the chef on his skill and creativity. Mr. Thompson smiled, relieved that everything was going according to plan. But hidden beneath the surface of this perfect presentation lurked a flaw. A single slice of bread, nestled innocently in a basket, concealed a small patch of green fuzz. It was a tiny detail, easily overlooked, but it was there, waiting to be discovered. A silent saboteur, ready to undermine all the hard work and meticulous planning. The lunch seemed like a success, a testament to the restaurant's commitment to excellence. But the illusion was about to shatter. Mr. Thompson, eager to enjoy his meal, reached for a slice of bread. He planned to savor it with a dab of butter, a small indulgence before diving into his main course. He picked up a piece, noticing nothing amiss at first glance. The crust was golden brown, the texture seemingly soft and inviting. But as he brought the bread closer, his eyes narrowed. A small fuzzy patch of green marred the otherwise perfect surface. It was unmistakable, mold. A wave of disappointment washed over him, quickly followed by a surge of anger. He carefully placed the bread back in the basket, trying to remain composed in front of his guests. He glanced around the table, making sure the investors hadn't noticed anything. They were engrossed in conversation, oblivious to the culinary catastrophe that had just unfolded. Mr. Thompson took a deep breath, trying to regain his composure. He couldn't let this ruin the meeting, but he also couldn't ignore the blatant negligence. The moldy bread was more than just an unpleasant discovery, it was a sign of deeper problems. It spoke of carelessness, lack of attention to detail, and a disregard for hygiene. It was a direct contradiction to everything he stood for, everything he had worked so hard to achieve. The perfect facade had crumbled, revealing a disturbing truth. He knew he had to address the issue, but he needed to do it carefully, strategically. The future of his company might depend on it. Despite the anger simmering beneath the surface, Mr. Thompson maintained an outward calm. He took a sip of water, cleared his throat, and subtly gestured to a nearby waiter. When the waiter approached, Mr. Thompson spoke in a low, controlled voice, careful not to attract the attention of his guests. "Excuse me," he said, his tone polite but firm. "Could you please ask the manager to come to our table? I have a small matter I'd like to discuss." The waiter, sensing the seriousness in Mr. Thompson's voice, nodded quickly and hurried away. Mr. Thompson turned back to his guests, offering a disarming smile. "Just a minor issue," he said smoothly. "Nothing to worry about." He steered the conversation back to business, expertly guiding the discussion and keeping the investors engaged. Inside, however, his mind was racing. He was formulating a plan, weighing his options. He could simply ignore the moldy bread, but that would be a betrayal of his principles. He could make a scene, but that would be unprofessional and potentially damaging to the deal. He needed to find a way to address the issue directly, without disrupting the meeting or alienating his guests. He decided to observe the manager's reaction and then decide how to proceed. The manager's response would determine the fate of the entire restaurant staff. The manager, Mr. Davies, arrived at the table, his face a mask of forced cheerfulness. He had been alerted to Mr. Thompson's request and knew something was amiss. He approached with caution, his usual confidence replaced by a palpable nervousness. "Mr. Thompson," he said, his voice slightly shaky. "Is everything to your satisfaction?" Mr. Thompson gestured towards the breadbasket, his expression neutral. "I'm afraid not, Mr. Davies. Perhaps you could take a look at this." Mr. Davies leaned in, his eyes widening as he spotted the telltale green fuzz. His face flushed crimson. He stammered, "Oh dear. I can explain." He launched into a series of clumsy excuses, blaming the delivery company, the humidity, even the bread itself. He downplayed the severity of the situation, suggesting it was just a tiny spot and that it wouldn't harm anyone. He offered to replace the bread basket immediately, assuring Mr. Thompson that it was an isolated incident. Mr. Thompson listened patiently, his gaze unwavering. He observed Mr. Davies's body language, his tone of voice, his overall demeanor. He wasn't just looking for an apology, he was looking for accountability. And he wasn't finding it. Mr. Davies's excuses only confirmed his suspicions. This wasn't just a mistake, it was a symptom of a larger problem. A problem that needed to be addressed immediately and decisively. As Mr. Thompson listened to the manager's flimsy excuses, his mind wandered to the bigger picture. It wasn't just about the moldy bread, it was about the lack of standards, the failure to prioritize customer safety, and the overall disregard for quality. He thought about the potential consequences: a customer getting sick, the restaurant's reputation being tarnished, the company's image being damaged. He considered the message it sent to his employees: that mediocrity was acceptable, that cutting corners was okay, that attention to detail didn't matter. He knew that if he let this slide, it would set a dangerous precedent. It would signal that he wasn't serious about his commitment to excellence. He thought about the investors sitting across the table, the people he was trying to impress, the people who held the key to his company's future. What would they think if they knew about the moldy bread? What would they think about his leadership if he didn't take decisive action? He realized that the moldy bread was a test, a challenge to his values, a moment of truth. It was an opportunity to demonstrate his commitment to quality, his dedication to his customers, and his unwavering belief in accountability. He knew what he had to do. The manager's excuses had sealed the fate of the restaurant staff. It was time to act. A flicker of memories ran through Mr. Thompson's mind. He remembered his own humble beginnings, the countless hours he had spent working his way up, the sacrifices he had made to achieve his success. He hadn't been born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He had earned everything he had through sheer determination and hard work. He recalled working as a dishwasher in a greasy diner, scrubbing pots and pans until his hands were raw. He remembered the long nights he had spent studying, sacrificing sleep and leisure to improve his skills. He remembered the sting of rejection, the pain of failure, and the unwavering belief in himself that had kept him going. He had learned the value of hard work, the importance of attention to detail, and the necessity of taking pride in one's work. He had seen firsthand what happened when standards slipped, when corners were cut, when quality was compromised. He knew that it led to ruin. That is why the moldy bread was so offensive to him. It wasn't just a culinary mishap, it was a betrayal of everything he stood for. It was a slap in the face to all the hard-working people who had helped him build his empire. It was a reminder of the struggles he had overcome and the values he had fought so hard to uphold. He would not let it stand. He would not tolerate mediocrity. He would demand excellence, no matter the cost. Mr. Thompson turned his attention back to Mr. Davies, his eyes now filled with a steely resolve. He spoke in a calm, measured tone, each word carefully chosen for maximum impact. "Mr. Davies," he began, "I appreciate your attempts to explain this situation. However, I'm afraid I cannot accept your excuses. The presence of moldy bread in my restaurant is simply unacceptable. It reflects a lack of attention to detail, a disregard for hygiene, and a failure to uphold the standards that I expect from every single one of my employees." He paused, allowing his words to sink in. The silence in the room was palpable. The investors, sensing the shift in atmosphere, had stopped talking and were now watching with rapt attention. "Therefore," Mr. Thompson continued, his voice unwavering, "I have made a decision. Effective immediately, the employment of every member of the restaurant staff is terminated. This includes you, Mr. Davies." Mr. Davies's face drained of all color. He stammered, But Mr. Thompson, you can't do that. What about our jobs? What about our families?" Mr. Thompson remained unmoved. "I understand your concerns, Mr. Davies. But I have a responsibility to my customers, my employees, and my company. I cannot tolerate negligence. I cannot condone mediocrity. And I will not allow this restaurant to operate under substandard conditions." The fate was sealed. The news spread through the restaurant like wildfire. One moment, the staff was bustling about, attending to their duties. The next, they were frozen in place, their faces etched with disbelief. The whispers started again, but this time, they were filled with panic and fear. Some staff members were openly weeping, their livelihoods suddenly ripped away. Others were in a state of shock, unable to comprehend what had just happened. A few were openly angry, directing their rage at Mr. Davies, the manager who had failed to protect them. The head chef, usually a picture of culinary pride, slumped against a counter, his dreams of creating culinary masterpieces shattered. The waitstaff, who had painstakingly practiced their smiles, now wore expressions of utter despair. The busboys, who had worked so diligently to keep the restaurant spotless, felt a sense of injustice. The investors, witnessing the unfolding drama, exchanged uneasy glances. They were witnessing firsthand the ruthlessness of Mr. Thompson's leadership, his willingness to take drastic measures to uphold his standards. They were impressed, but also a little unnerved. The once perfect restaurant was now a scene of chaos and devastation. The moldy bread had triggered a chain reaction, leaving a trail of broken dreams and shattered lives in its wake. The silence was broken only by sobs and muttered curses. Despite the emotional turmoil swirling around him, Mr. Thompson remained composed. He addressed the distraught staff, his voice firm but tinged with a hint of regret. He understood the hardship his decision would cause, but he believed it was necessary. "I understand that this is difficult news," he said, his gaze sweeping across the room. "But I want you to understand why I made this decision. This isn't about punishing individuals, it's about setting a standard. It's about creating a culture of excellence, where everyone takes pride in their work and is committed to providing the best possible experience for our customers." He continued, "The moldy bread was a symptom of a larger problem, a lack of attention to detail, a disregard for hygiene, and a failure to take responsibility. I cannot allow these problems to persist. I need to ensure that this restaurant operates at the highest level of quality and safety. He explained that he would be providing severance packages to help the staff transition to new jobs. He also promised to assist them in their job searches, offering recommendations and connections. He emphasized that he wasn't firing them out of malice, but out of a deep-seated belief in accountability and the need for a complete overhaul. He hoped they would understand, even if they didn't agree. The future of the restaurant, and his commitment to excellence, demanded it. The immediate aftermath was a whirlwind of activity. Staff members, still reeling from the shock, began packing their belongings. Boxes were hastily filled with personal items, uniforms, and kitchen utensils. Tears flowed freely, and hushed conversations filled the air. The restaurant, once a symbol of culinary excellence, was now a scene of organized chaos. Tables were overturned, chairs were stacked haphazardly, and the aroma of freshly baked bread was replaced by the scent of disinfectant. The gleaming silverware and sparkling glasses were packed away, their future uncertain. Mr. Davies, the manager, stood in the corner, his face buried in his hands. He was a broken man, his career in tatters. He watched helplessly as his staff, his friends, his colleagues, packed their belongings and prepared to leave. He knew he was responsible for their misfortune, and the weight of guilt was crushing him. The investors, still present, observed the scene with a mixture of fascination and discomfort. They had never witnessed anything quite like this before. They were impressed by Mr. Thompson's decisiveness, but they also felt a pang of sympathy for the displaced workers. The restaurant doors were closed, the lights were turned off, and a sign was posted on the door, "Closed for renovations." The restaurant was shut down. A new chapter was about to begin. Mr. Thompson didn't waste any time. He immediately began the process of finding a new team, a team that shared his vision of excellence. He placed advertisements in newspapers and online, seeking individuals with a strong work ethic, a commitment to quality, and a passion for customer service. He personally reviewed every application, carefully scrutinizing each candidate's qualifications and experience. He conducted rigorous interviews, probing deep into their values and beliefs. He wasn't just looking for skilled chefs and efficient waiters, he was looking for individuals with integrity, people who would take pride in their work and hold themselves accountable for their actions. He sought out individuals with a proven track record of success, people who had demonstrated a commitment to excellence in their previous roles. He looked for candidates who were passionate about food, who understood the importance of hygiene, and who were dedicated to providing a positive dining experience for every customer. He wanted a diverse team, representing a range of backgrounds and experiences. He believed that diversity fostered creativity, innovation, and a stronger sense of community. He wanted a team that reflected the values of his company: hard work, dedication, and a commitment to excellence. He wanted a team that would never serve moldy bread. The rebuilding process had begun. Weeks later, the restaurant reopened its doors. The "Closed for renovation" sign was gone, replaced by a gleaming new sign that read, "Thompson's Bistro, Excellence Redefined." The interior had been completely remodeled, with a fresh, modern design. The kitchen was spotless, equipped with state-of-the-art appliances and gleaming stainless steel surfaces. The new staff, handpicked by Mr. Thompson himself, were eager to prove themselves. They had undergone extensive training, learning about hygiene, customer service, and the importance of attention to detail. They were committed to providing a dining experience that was second to none. The menu had been revamped, featuring fresh, locally sourced ingredients and innovative dishes. The aroma of freshly baked bread once again filled the air, but this time, there was no sign of mold. The bread was perfect, a symbol of the restaurant's renewed commitment to quality. Mr. Thompson stood at the entrance, greeting guests with a warm smile. He watched as the new staff bustled about, attending to every need. He saw the satisfied expressions on the faces of the diners, and he knew that he had made the right decision. The moldy bread had been a setback, but it had also been an opportunity. An opportunity to rebuild, to redefine, and to create something truly exceptional. The restaurant was back, better than ever. As the days turned into weeks, Thompson's Bistro thrived. The investors, initially hesitant, were now impressed by Mr. Thompson's leadership and the restaurant's newfound success. They saw the dedication of the new staff, the quality of the food, and the positive feedback from customers. They were confident that they had made the right decision in partnering with Mr. Thompson. Mr. Thompson often visited the restaurant, not just as the CEO, but as a mentor and a leader. He interacted with the staff, offering encouragement and guidance. He shared his vision for the future, emphasizing the importance of teamwork, accountability, and a relentless pursuit of excellence. He also made a point of reaching out to the local community, partnering with local farmers and suppliers, and supporting local charities. He wanted Thompson's Bistro to be more than just a restaurant, he wanted it to be a valuable asset to the community. The story of the moldy bread became a legend, a reminder of the importance of standards and the consequences of negligence. It was a story that was passed down from employee to employee, ensuring that the values of excellence and accountability were never forgotten. And so, Thompson's Bistro stood as a testament to Mr. Thompson's unwavering commitment to quality, his decisive leadership, and his ability to turn a setback into an opportunity. It proved to everyone that even from mold, something beautiful can grow.